Guys, this has been on my shelf for ages. I finally read it. I've read all the Twilight books, apart from this one and apart from Edward's perspective of Twilight. This one is like a mini book. A character, Bree, who was a part of the newborns in the Eclipse novel. This is like her little mini story. There's no chapters. It's just like straight through, and it's actually really, really sad, actually. This, as you all know if you read or watched Eclipse, Victoria is the creator of all these guys, and the guy who was basically their boss acted like their dad, and they kept them in basements, told them they weren't allowed to go out in the sun, pretty much starved them until they couldn't take it anymore, and let them go out in a few numbers to drink food or drink blood at nighttime. And this girl had a boyfriend who figured out you could go out into the sun, and he ended up getting tortured and killed by Victoria. And the Volturi, get this, the Volturi had a deal with Victoria to take out the Cullen clan. And when that didn't work, they just acted like they didn't know what was going on, and they came like you all know they came after the war ended and didn't need to clean up, and they ended up killing Bree. But Bree knew that what they were up to, and so she was thinking all these thoughts to make Edward know what they were thinking. They were going to take care of her. Jasper was taking care of her. They were going to adopt her, but the Volturi wouldn't let that happen. So she kept thinking all these thoughts so Edward would know what was going on, and she knew pretty much at the very end that everything was a lie. And then like her creator, her boss, killed her boyfriend, someone she cared about, and Fred, the other guy that she cared about, who was her friend, ended up not going to the war and ended up going with Vancouver instead. So pretty much, apart from the boyfriend, they knew, and Bree and another guy survived. The three main characters, apart from the boyfriend, he died, and he was getting tortured to death because he knew that you could go on the sun and only like shimmer like a disco ball, they said. And during the daytime they didn't make it back to the house, so they stayed in a cave, and that's when the relationship between this guy and Bree started. And so if anything, it's like it's like a very sad story. This girl was barely a teenager, and they had a troubled human life and ended up having a troubled bad end vampire life and everything. They didn't teach her the rules. They basically just used her as a dumb weapon. And she actually followed her creator, or her boss guy, to the creator's house and find out they were in a relationship, and they were actually working with the Volturi to take out the brown-eyed vampires, which we all know as the Cullens. And what really threw me off is she kept calling what I just generally know as Edward is the red-headed guy. It's like we all know that he was brunette. So that kind of threw me off. And Jasper was taking care of her, but they ended up talking and saying, and Jane was like, that wasn't your promise to keep, and they ended up killing her. But so she ended up having like all these thoughts so Edward would hear, and like they were trying to take you guys out, and that was her last little thought. And her last thought of Edward was just close your eyes and don't watch when they were tearing her apart and throwing her in the fire with the rest of her newborn clan. So I do recommend it. It is a good insight book from another perspective of the Eclipse novel, but it's also pretty sad to know that this generally happened to a 15-year-old girl. But I definitely recommend this as another perspective of the Twilight series. Thanks for watching. Bye.